Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today we discuss a very important issue. Justice Bhushan Gavai and Justice Vinod Chandran have issued notice in a public interest litigation that has asked for life-saving equipment to be available in ambulances all across India. This is an issue that resonates with everybody, and Justice Gavai and Justice Vinod Chandran heard this and have issued notice to the health ministry. Of course, there's going to be action, and on a very noble cause. Of course, why did this happen? Out of what does this issue arise? Why did the ambulance issue come up now? All that will be spoken during the course of the program. And the people who were involved in the case, 3 lawyers are with me. I would like to welcome Senior Advocate Percival Bilimoria, the advocate on record in the case, Jasmine Damkewala, and Advocate Rachita Sood. Welcome all of you, and thank you for your time. At the outset, let me request Senior Advocate Percival Bilimoria, why this PIL and how did this come about to be?
So Tarun, Dr. Venugopal was a living legend, and I remember in the 1990s, my father had a heart attack. We were in Bombay at that time, and the first name that came to mind was Dr. Venugopal because he had just completed India's first heart transplant.
Okay.
Unfortunately, at that time, we could not get him to Delhi. There were no air ambulances, which we now have, of course. So when the late Dr. Venugopal's family got in touch and said that they would like to do a PIL. I'm a little hesitant about PILs. But when I looked at the matter, I thought it was a very deserving case because such a living legend of a doctor who succumbed and was declared dead on arrival in the hospital simply because the ambulance was not well equipped. And then we did some research and we found that there were several papers. So the Transport Ministry, the Health Ministry, there are many documents that are around. There was one report of Niti Aayog that struck me, which is very important. Essentially what it said is that, look, about 30% of deaths happen prematurely in transit to hospital.
30%.
30%. It also said 90% of ambulances applying on our roads do not have adequate facilities in terms of equipment, or it's not just equipment, it's life-saving drugs. I don't even believe that there is a standard list of life-saving medication that must be there in all hospitals. It may be, I don't know, but I haven't come across when I studied for this case. But I do believe that there should be a list of emergency medication that all ambulances should be equipped with. And then, of course, life-saving equipment.
Very interesting, and for the benefit of viewers, I'd like to share that Dr. P. Venugopal was the former director of AIIMS, and he did India's first heart transplant. Is that right?
That's sometime in the early 1990s.
I'll go to AOR in the case Jasmine Damkewala. Could you sort of explain to us that it is very 1950s thinking that the ambulance is a van in which somebody is placed and taken to the hospital, and now we see all kinds of life-saving equipment. Do you think this is a watershed movement, that because of this happened and Justice Gavai has taken this so seriously, we things will about to change? Are you hopeful now with this?
Definitely. Firstly, thank you for having me on the show. Secondly, it's actually very shocking that ambulances don't have this kind of life-saving service in this day and age. You would imagine an ambulance completely being equipped, because today ambulances are not a vehicle where you take a patient from point A to point B.
Right.
There are patients who are on ventilators. There are patients who are on oxygen. You cannot remove the supplies and then transmit the patient and then reconnect.
Yes.
You have to connect with the supplies. It is a basic fundamental right of a person to have the best medical amenities. So if a person wants to move from hospital A to hospital B for whatever reason, for maybe some niche surgery or something, the person should be able to move. Unless you have those amenities, you cannot move. So one would imagine that today, in this day and age, all ambulances have it, but we were shocked to realize that they do not. A majority of the ambulances, like the senior counsel pointed out, a majority of the ambulances in fact do not have the services. That is shocking in this day and age.
And it is sort of a tragedy that a former director of AIMS
Yes.
and
So
such an eminent doctor lost his life due to such an omission on part of the ambulance
absolutely.
service providers.
Absolutely. It's a very basic requirement of an ambulance to have these services, and it was very ironic to even hear about this or read about this, that a personality like Dr. Venugopal, this happened to him, this can happen to anybody.
Anyone. And
Anybody.
maybe I'll take this to Rachita at this point. Rachita, maybe because it was Dr. Venugopal that it has now become so big.
Absolutely. In fact, when the family got in touch with me, one of the things that they said is that they would never want this to happen to anybody else, because if it can happen to him, what would happen to a normal citizen? There are press reports on record which show that there was a 4-year-old that died on the way to the hospital because the ambulance didn't have enough medical supplies. There was a woman in labor who passed away because the oxygen didn't have enough medical facilities, did not have enough oxygen. In fact, there are again reports on record. There is a 16th common review mission report which shows that in Jharkhand, the ambulances doors are broken, the stretchers are broken, the state is so bad. So something had to be done at this point.
Point very well taken. I go to Senior Advocate Percival Binimuria. Now that Justice Gavai, Justice Vinod Chandran heard this, issued notice, are you hopeful that this will become a movement when things will change in India?
Well, see, that's what a PIL is all about. As I said, I'm a little skeptical about PILs because people tend to misuse PILs to gain notoriety or, for various reasons. And there are certain people who come forward with absolute rubbish. And I think our judiciary has now become a little wary about PILs. I think it's a great mechanism that was actually founded, I think, by Justice Bhagwati. Because, he wrote, he was famous, I think, sometime in the mid-80s for responding to a postcard.
Yes.
And ensuring that there was access to justice at all levels of society. I think we moved on from there to, when I think now, some of the jurists that I speak to in England, for example, are astonished at the fact that in India you could do PILs to, there's a very thin line between legislating and being a jurist. And I think, that's been the controversy. But I think in a social cause such as this, it was a very good, very worthy issue. And when I studied the brief, I was astonished because there's one which gives reports. So, for example, in some state in Jharkhand, there are, in areas where you don't have ambulances, you have people being taken to hospital on motorbikes.
So there's no ambulance at all.
There's no ambulance and people go to hospital on motorbikes.
So you mean it's a tragedy? That is certain if you're not sort of...
I shudder to think what could happen, but it's an eye-opener.
But don't you think you're talking here at two levels? A, that absolute absence of any facility, and second, you have an ambulance but it's not equipped. Is this true for cities like Delhi,
that's
Bombay?
part of the problem, but I think there are many other complex issues. So, for example, there was a report that I looked at which ranked each city in terms of the time it takes to reach. That is quite enlightening, and I think, of course, Delhi, Bombay I think we are lucky to have that. And I've always been very, very cautious to tell my drivers that whenever there is an ambulance, you must give way. And I find that in traffic jam sometimes it's not possible. And that's a
and that's
huge
when
issue.
that life-saving equipment may come into use.
Absolutely.
Point very well taken. I'll go
And
to...
I had,
Yes.
just one thing. So I also noticed, so recently I spent a lot of time at the AIMS Trauma Center. There was somebody who was there and they of course don't let everyone walk in.
Yes.
And I was standing outside and watching the ambulances roll in. And I can tell you that, that is what really set my mind to ensuring that this works and that this will succeed, and hopefully it will. And I think, it wasn't much of an argument because I think, Justice Gavai and Justice Chandran already read the brief, and they said, okay, we are issuing notice.
Tell me one thing, what are you requesting for? You're requesting for some kind of direction that all ambulances should have this at the minimum? This medicine and this equipment?
Well, so first is to have a committee to study it. Now, as I said, there are many reports which are already there, but there has to be a committee to go into. So there is only one state, which is Gujarat, which has legislation on this, by the way.
On ambulances?
On ambulance. The others have SOPs which are followed in breach rather than anything. There's no monitoring. And moreover, there's no enforcement.
No enforcement.
So I think there has to be some kind of a national backbone that oversees this.
Point very well taken. I'll go to Advocate Jasmine Damkewala. So what are you requesting for is a pan-India direction
Yes.
to have ambulances, to have life-saving and medicines both?
SOPs and life-saving equipment. So there has to be a SOP, there has to be a checklist that certain life-saving equipment should be there. Now, we are not listing the life-saving equipment required. A committee needs to be set up for
Doctors.
that. So we are not experts in what medical care is required, but what we know is medical care is required because ambulances are not just to transmit patients, they also serve as waiting rooms.
Achha, are you sort of specifying that this is
Yes.
for hospital-owned ambulances or any ambulance service?
Any ambulance services, there has to be a proper SOP for it.
Because
There
we
has
have
to be
many
a
charitable ambulance services in India.
That is
Because
right.
being a poor country, there are hospitals sort
Yes.
of, and then there are these free services and by
Yes.
that political parties or social organizations.
That is right. So it does not intend to put a burden on charitable organizations, but some protocol can be reached where they can get support from the state to put those
This
amenities
bare
within
minimum
their.
facility.
Yes, because bare minimum facilities are required in ambulances. Now, a person dials an ambulance, the layman is not going to know whether this ambulance has this facility or not. We can't keep people at sea. We also cannot impose a charitable van. We cannot impose that a charitable organization will have all these supplies in the vans and they will pay for it. But some sort of, maybe the committee can come up with a formula where some support can be given to charitable organizations where they can have these equipments in their vans, so that every van, every ambulance has the minimum standard required amenities, equipments, medicines and SOPs. Because they also serve as waiting rooms. A lot of times when the trauma centers vans roll in, if the trauma center is full, there is a waiting time. So that also has to be factored in. It is not just for transmitting the patient or carrying the patient from point A to B. There is sometimes there is a waiting time also, a few minutes, and minutes can make a difference.
Minutes and life and death. Point very well. I'll take this to Advocate Rachita Sood. When you were researching for this, when the PIL was being drafted, any glaring facts that you learnt that then formed part of the PIL? Any things that you were shocked to learn about?
Right. So essentially, the issue is not just about the fact that there needs to be proper medical facilities. There is an issue that goes beyond it. And the issue is that how do you make sure that those proper medical facilities are maintained at all times?
At all times.
So there has to be mechanisms for inspections. There have to be mechanisms for surveys. We have such a mechanism in the Food Safety Act.
Okay.
So why can't we draw a parallel with that? Why can't we legislate, or why can't we have a check and balance in place to make sure that proper inspections are done at all times? And in those inspections, if it is found that somebody is not maintaining proper facilities, their license should be taken away. Even in case of charitable ambulances, if proper facilities are not being maintained, as ma'am said, that they are trying to serve the society, but if proper mechanisms or proper facilities are not being maintained in those charitable ambulances, then they are not serving any purpose, then they're doing more harm than good. So
Tarun, in this case, this is exactly what happened. So there was a nebulizer in the ambulance, but the oxygen cylinder was empty.
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 That's how the doctor passed it.
Well, that's hard to say because it was brought.
But basically, it's a causal.
But by then they had to stop the ambulance there to say, where is the refill? And the refill was under, just like a Stepney. So it was under the ambulance. So it took them some time to take it out and fix it to the
Tell me
nebulizer.
one thing that I would want to ask you, that are there first world standards on ambulances, like Australian ambulances or American ambulances or UK ambulances? Are there standards that India could follow?
See, the issue is also that health is a state subject, right? So I think that's part of the issue. This concerns the Transport Ministry, which has come out with a very good report, and the Health Ministry. I think that's why what we are saying is that there's an interim. In fact, when the Chief Justice said that we're issuing notice, I started saying I was wanting to ask for, let's please appoint a committee, but then he said, I've issued notice, what more? So I said, okay, thank you very much. It was...
So once Justice Gavai and Justice Chandran have issued a notice, now once the the Health Ministry replies, will there be a...
Well, there will be further hearings at which we'll press these points.
So the next hearing could be when?
It should be November. I think we have a date
4
for
weeks.
November, unless I'm mistaken.
So you're hopeful that things will move soon?
Absolutely, it has to. It's very important.
I'll take one question to Jasmine. Are there any first world standards that India can follow? All of you are very well travelled. Have you seen, even as normal travellers, that ambulances in the UK or the US or Australia or any developed country, do they follow certain protocols that India could learn from?
So WHO seems to have put forth some standards for
Basic.
ambulances and for medical protocol. So I haven't personally encountered, luckily I did not need to go in an ambulance when I was
But could
traveling.
we look at that when
But
we go to the...
yes, it will be very helpful to look at that and to draw parallels. Of course, we cannot completely copy them because we do not have
Budgetary
those
constraints.
facilities. We don't have we have constraints, but we can draw parallels to see what can be followed.
So almost out of time, so I'll take one final comment from Senior Advocate Billy Moria. What is your expectation? See, because this is a PIL, this is not your run-of-the-mill commercial case which you do for
Yeah.
money. This is something that you're devoting time for as a senior advocate. What is your expectation from this case? What do you wish to see changed?
So the first thing is that the PIL is not adversarial.
Yes.
So there is no opposite party. So I don't think that the government councils are going to turn up and oppose anything.
Yes.
I think it's a cooperative effort. And honestly, that is really the only way that we can make a difference here. One thing about Indian healthcare, our doctors are top class.
Doctors are talking.
Right, and I think there's this concept of medical tourism, because our doctors. So when I had an issue sometime during COVID, I went to London, and there was a Sikh doctor over there, and he told me, "Look, you have a choice. I can put you here, but the guy I will give you probably does about 6 procedures a day."
6 procedures a day.
Right? Your chap in India will be doing 3, will be doing 30.
A day.
Right? So he's more
Experience.
experienced, he's probably much more of an expert. The issue that we have in India is the support infrastructure, and I think ambulances are part of that. So the hygiene in hospitals, the infrastructure and ambulances, emergency services are a very huge part of that.
So you believe that you could sort of in your own way through law contribute to make this better soon?
Yes.
I'm wishing you all the best with this noble cause that you took up. Of course, Justice Gavai, Justice Vidur Chandran issued notice. We'll follow up this issue with all of you on the next date, because I think health involves all of us. I think a lot of people have taken interest in your PIL and it's being discussed everywhere. So I think at every date, if some new development happens, it's an opportunity to not only discuss, but take it forward. Of course, first world SOPs are something I'm interested in, because let us know what the other countries are doing and where we could go right. I would like to thank Senior Advocate Percival Billy Moria, AOR in the case, Advocate Jasmine Damkewala, Advocate Rashida Sood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
taking
having
up
us.
this issue. And thank you viewers for tuning in to watch this on facilities to be provided in ambulances, which are life-saving equipment and medicines. Justice Gawai and Justice Vinod Chandran have taken this up. Let's see where this leads to. We'll follow this. But that's it for now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.